Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm great.
You're always great. You're always just fuller than life itself. When I think about NAM, and I just think about neighbors helping neighbors. And when we have a catastrophe at Fox 26, and I'm doing breaking news, and I know people are going to be hurting, do you know what we always think of? When are we going to hear from Mattress Mack? When is he going to step up? And he does right now. In fact, he is right now helping the victims in Mississippi, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But let's first of all just talk about your love of philanthropy, your love of helping this community, how you're always there day in and day out. Where did that come from? Is this something you grew up with? Is it something that you've been able to build through your furniture empire? Where does it all come from?
It definitely comes from my parents. You know, it's been said we don't live in the past, but the past lives in us. And I remember my grandfather was from, my mother's side was from Florence, Alabama. He was very hard worker, very philanthropic. My father's parents were from Starkville, Mississippi, which is about 60 miles from where that tremendous tornado tore up everything a couple days ago. And my father was the ultimate giver. He gave when he had no money to give. And I remember clearly one time, my brother and I was probably 9 years old, my brother was 10, and my father was at the Little League baseball games. One of the parents said to him, you only give because your children are playing baseball here. He said, no, I give to help all the children. And that's the way my parents were. My father founded a Catholic high school in Dallas, Bishop Lynch High School, which is still there. He founded it in 1963, it's still there 60 years later. And the first graduating class was 2 years ahead of me. There was a guy named Jim Rager, who was a quarterback football player, and my father got him a scholarship to Dartmouth College, Ivy League. So he went up there for the first semester, did very well, came back home for Christmas break, and he didn't have enough money to get back to Dartmouth, so he was going to have to drop out. My father put him in the car, drove him to Dartmouth, and then this guy went on to become second in charge of the Royal Bank of Canada, and he always reminds me when I see him of my father's generosity to him. And so in my father's dying days right over here in Enchanted Oaks, all he wanted to know was how were his children. My parents would have never taken a vacation without us children in 1,000 years. And their life revolved around family, faith, and community, and that was it. And that's who they were, and hopefully I can live up to the duties and responsibility that they taught me.
Well, you're the perfect person to be here today, because that's what NAM is all about. It's about community, it's about family, it's about faith, it's about making a difference. And how powerful to see that your parents were that legacy, that they were that example to where you came today. We were talking at our table just a little while ago about how many furniture stores do you go in, and there'll actually be signs on it, don't sit on the furniture. You would get kicked out of there if you touch it. Yet we have a catastrophe like Katrina. We have a catastrophe like Harvey. You not only let people sit on the furniture, honey, you let them sleep in it for days at a time. How did you decide on that first fateful time you did that, where you said, my doors are open, I'm going to feed you, and you're going to have a place to stay?
Well, during Hurricane Harvey, I wanted to open up the doors to the store and let the people in. And I asked my son, who was stranded in Dallas, how to do it. He said, Dad, you got to do a Facebook Live. I said, boy, I don't know what Facebook Live is. Anyway, he taught me how to do a Facebook Live. We invited the people in, and it was overwhelming. And they slept on the mattresses, and they ate on the dining room tables, and they sat and watched television for 3 or 4 days on the sofas. And those were some of the greatest days of my life. Because as John Paul II said, the essence of living is giving. And when you and I go in front of our Creator, whoever we may believe our Creator to be, the Creator will not ask us how much money did we make. the Creator instead will ask us, how much difference did we make? And NAM and the supporters of NAM make a tremendous difference up here in Northwest Harris County every single day. And I'm here to say thank you, NAM, for all you do.
I feel like everybody here has that sense of community. You have that sense of giving what you want to give. But what would you suggest to somebody who didn't have that parent to do that, who might be struggling, who might not be able to do that, of how important it is to be able to give to the community in so many different ways?
One of the problems in this country, and we got lots of them, is we have lost a sense of community. You know, these kids, they'd rather have their arm cut off than lose this gadget. And they spend their whole life on the gadget. And they don't get to know people. One of the best things we ever did at Gallery Furniture, we feed our employees free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And cell phones, iPads, computers are forbidden in the lunchroom. Imagine this, they got to sit down and talk to somebody next to them. And we have a lot of kids that come to work for us, they're nervous, they're scared, they've never had a job before, and they're living in a single-parent home. But then all of a sudden at work, they meet somebody who's just like them. Then they meet a next person, and they develop a community there at work. And when they have a problem, somebody in that community knows how to help them solve it. Or their car breaks down, rather than calling in saying, I'm sick, I'm not coming to work today, they find a way to get to work because they don't want to let down their teammates. Here's a shocking statistic for you. In 1900, the average size of a U.S. household was 10.5 people. The average size of a U.S. household was 10.5 people. Today, the average size of a U.S. household is less than 2, and one's the loneliest number. We have to find a sense of community. NAM offers a sense of community. I would say get involved in a group like NAM. It's your network that determines your net worth. And get involved and meet people and know people and surround yourself with good people, and good things will happen to you. I am a big admirer of the Mormon Church. And if you're a parishioner there and you tithe and all of a sudden you lose your job, you go up and work at the church and you get paid the same money you were making until you find a new job. And the parishioners band together to help you find a new job. That's what community is all about. That's what we're lacking in this country, and we need to get back to it. That's why so many of these kids end up in gangs, because they're looking for something to belong to.
Well, it's so neat how you've made that such a great place for your employees, but also for anybody who visits there. It feels like you're going home, doesn't it? I mean, you got fun animals, you got snacks. Why would you ever want to leave when you go? But do you find that that's what makes you so happy, to be able to treat the people of Houston, to come in? It's almost like we're going to your home to visit your pets.
Well, you know, so many of them walk in and they say, I like what you stand for.
Yeah.
They say, I like what you stand for. That's code. The code means, I like the fact that you support God, duty, honor, country, and work. And that's what NAM stands for. NAM serves 122,000 people in this area every year, assists 150 families per month in mortgage and rental assistance. You don't know how valuable that is until you sit in my shoes. Every day I get 3 or 4 people up there crying, domestic violence and abuse victims wanting me to pay their rent and put a roof over their head. NAM does 900 Meals on Wheels daily to seniors. You know, I got a bunch of kids that work for me that are Orientals, and they'll tell you up front that they respect and they revere their elders. They would never think about abandoning their elders in a million years. And the Meals on Wheels that NAM delivers every day is a huge service to those elders. So God bless NAM for doing that. Serve 75 families a day in the food pantry. And the thing I like most that NAM does, among the many great things, is NAM has 5,000 students in adult vocational training. 5,000 students in adult vocational training. I firmly believe that work is life's greatest therapy. I believe, go ahead, I like work. During the pandemic, I came up with this brilliant idea to take away 30,000 out of our 100,000 square foot showroom and make it into a trade school for adults in the area that didn't have jobs, a high school for kids that didn't finish high school age 16 to 26, and a preschool for our team members and also the people in the neighborhood. And all the employees said I was crazy to do that, but that was part of my father telling me to do something for the community. And so we did that, and strangely enough, sales doubled. So it was.
That's what I'm talking about.
I spoke to a new cohort of people entering our vocational class yesterday, and there was 120 young women and men going to train to be plumbers and electricians and construction workers and HVAC and auto mechanics, all the same thing NAM teaches. And you know what? None of those jobs, thank God, can be offshored to China.
There you go.
So I think if we wanted to eliminate crime in this country, we need to get more people to work. There are more young people aged 20 to 35 unemployed than any time in the history of this country. I believe they need to understand that work is life's greatest therapy. My daughter, Elizabeth, was raised right over here on 1960. We lived in Northgate. She was in the ninth grade. She was going to Westfield High School, and she became afflicted with a terrible mental illness called obsessive compulsive disorder. And her mother and I took her to about 20 psychiatrists all over North Houston and down at the medical center and everywhere. And every one of those psychiatrists said they'd never seen such a severe case of obsessive compulsive disease before, and that we should institutionalize that child. Well, you know, her mother and I, we're not buyers, we're sellers. We weren't buying all that, so we kept looking and kept looking. And for 2 years, Linda lived upstairs over here in Northgate with Elizabeth because Elizabeth was suicidal. And she would scream every night, God, what did I do to deserve this? I wish I was dead. And many nights she would get a butcher knife and give it to her beloved sister and beg her sister to kill her. It was hell on earth. Well, finally we found the Miniger Clinic, and we took her up there to Topeka, Kansas one day, and we put her inside that mental health institution, and now her worst nightmares were coming true because the doctors had told Linda in front of them, institutionalize her. So she's screaming bloody murder as we left there, crying, saying, Mom, Dad, please don't leave me here. I wanted to bring her back to Houston, but her mother was much stronger than me and said, we got to leave her here to save her life. Well, sure enough, after 8 weeks of intensive therapy there, she got better and moved back to Houston. And she re-enrolled at Westfield High School, and the beloved teachers and coaches and administrators at Westfield High School worked with her on this disease, and she did better for a year and a half. And then she had another relapse of severe obsessive compulsive disorder because mental illness is a cruel disease. No one knows who it may strike or why. Mental illness never goes away. It lasts forever. My child will always be walking on the edge of a cliff. I cannot keep her from falling. She relapsed and went back to Miniger, which at that time had moved back to Houston. Then she came back out and went back to Westfield High School. And the proudest day of our life was seeing this child walk across the stage there at Westfield High School and get her diploma against 1,000,000 to 1 odds. And now this child, she found out that helping other people with obsessive compulsive disorder gave her peace and meaning and purpose in her life. So now she has a PhD in psychology, and for years she worked for the OCD clinic that Harvard Medical School has in the Heights, and recently she bought that OCD clinic and she's running it herself with all of her patients there. And it's real simple. Work saved that child's life. I have a friend of mine named Temple Grandin, Googler, one of the 10 most influential people in history as far as I'm concerned. Fully autistic, off the chart. Temple has full-blown autism, but her mother and dad wouldn't give up on her. They sent her to a boarding school when she was in junior high, and she started working with horses. And she was cleaning the horse stalls, not a very glamorous job. But she found out that she loved to do this job. And then she went on to high school and college and PhD. Now she's the foremost person in animal husbandry in human history. And she's the world's biggest authority on autism. I recently spoke at her 75th birthday. On the wall there at Colorado State, it said, "Working with horses saved my life." Work is life's greatest therapy. Thank you to all of you at NAM providing that therapy to thousands of young people in your vocational center every day. It makes a huge difference.
It does. When you think about NAM, it's just to keep it alive. It takes each and every one of us to do our part. So I want to pause for just a moment and encourage you to take a look at those donation cards on your table. You can fill it out. We have volunteers who can race to your table. They can pick them up. If you want to wave it in the air, they can take a credit card. They can take your card, whatever. But if we think about those numbers that you talked about, of seniors who wouldn't have a meal, they wouldn't be able to eat without the help. And that's just one of the many programs. It's program after program of making a difference. And you were talking about how work is so important. If we can work by helping somebody who can't financially, we can make a world. We can save lives ourselves.
If NAM gets a person to work and they become a plumber, electrician, maybe they try 5 or 6 skilled trades or till they find one they like, then their life has purpose and meaning. But you know what else it does? It changes their family trajectory for generations. Because mom or dad works, then the kids work, the grandkids work, and they become taxpayers rather than tax takers, and you turn a victim into a victor. You take the IM and put OR on the end of it.
Well, I've got to ask you, so our time is running out. I can't believe we just have a few minutes left. So I know we have to get to those record bets. We're talking a world record bet last year for the World Series, and they keep on coming. It doesn't matter if it's TCU, U of H, you keep them coming. But how about those Stros? You had to be relieved when they won that game.
Yeah, I was up in Philadelphia, game 3 of the World Series. Astros lost, and we're down 2-1. I'm fixing to lose this $76 million bet. So I wasn't happy walking out of the stadium, and this guy starts screaming at me, "Hey, Mattress Mack, you suck, and Altuve sucks, and all these guys, and all this, and Altuve will never make the Hall of Fame. You rip all the Astros jerseys off, they all got beepers underneath there." So I said a few Philadelphia words back to him. And the good news was all the Astros players watched that video the next day and got fired up on the next 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
Then the next night, I'm sitting down there by the Astros dugout, and all these rich Philly people are sitting there, and several of them came up to me and said, "We apologize about what happened last night. We're really not like that. We're good people." And the next 2 of them walked by, "Hey, Mattress Mack, F you." I said, "Okay."
How did you decide in the first place that these bets were going to begin, and how you would be able to pull it off? Because I remember I got to interview Elizabeth, his daughter, quite a few times through her struggles from when she was young to now when she's a doctor. But I remember her going, "Oh, Daddy." We were saying, "Oh, no, Daddy."
Her mother thinks I have a gambling problem. I don't have a gambling problem. It's just a promotional problem. But I must admit, when the beloved U of H Cougs lost the other night, I saw that $34 million going down the drain. Somebody asked me how long it took me to get over it. I have a memory like a cat. Next.
Thank goodness, right? That's a really good place to be. Okay, so what's the next big one?
The Houston Astros.
Uh-huh.
The Houston Astros, and I was on the radio yesterday asking people to bring bottled water and all sorts of donations that are on our website to help the people in Mississippi, which was a horrible catastrophe. And then I got a text from Jim Crane, and he wanted to help out with the Astros. They're having a big drive at Minute Maid tomorrow, getting supplies to take to Mississippi. So as I was driving back, as soon as I lost that bet, and I was in Las Vegas because I had to do the speaking engagement I couldn't get out of on Friday night. I lost that bet. Then I got the boys at Caesar's Palace to take a $1.9 million bet on the Astros at 6-1 for my next promotion. So I said, Mr. Crane, how the Astros going to do this year? He said, we're going to be real good. I said, that's music to my ears.
I love it. Well, as we close, I found out that you have a room in your house that has some inspirational quotes, so to speak. I have inspirational quotes everywhere, sticky notes. I just think it's really good. Can you tell us about that and then how that might help you reflect?
Yeah, I drilled that into my children over the years. If it is to be, it is up to me. That's called the great American virtue of self-reliance. You know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you want something done, go do it yourself. Work is life's greatest therapy. And my favorite one is this. Life offers you a second chance. It's called tomorrow. Suit up.